Okay, so this is Secret Squirrels. This is the last day when we're able to operate unsupervised because the doc is going to be coming back tomorrow. We'll have him back on the air here and make sure that you have the ability to be thoroughly informed, as it were. So, you know, it's like we're going to have this, you know, when the cat's are away, the mice will play or something like that. We're going to try to have a little bit more fun today. But, you know, still the news, lots of bad stuff going on. Anyway, we're the Secret Squirrels. We're associated with Dr. Corsi and the Corsi Nation website. Please check that out if you have a chance. It's CorsiNation.com. So, without any further ado, we have a small crew here today, it looks like. Why don't everybody introduce themselves?
Hello, I'm Abigail, and glad to be here. Thank you for inviting us, Brainstorm.
And I go by the handle Dr. CD Camp Online, and I'm glad to be here as well. It's been an exciting start to the Secret Squirrels effort, and Brainstorm has done a wonderful job filling in the Dr. Corsi's absence, and we'll see if this turns into a show that then migrates to another time outside of Dr. Corsi's slot, and we'll just see how that goes.
This is Arrow, and I work on some IT stuff. There's a dog in the background. That's not me, but there's a dog going on.
Yeah, Jax is so wild. It has wild animals in her house, you know. She can't keep them under control.
Well, this squirrel stuff is fun stuff. So, maybe he's after the squirrels. We better protect ourselves from the dog.
That's probably what it is. That's a good call. That's right. He's probably sees all the squirrels around. He's looking to chase us. So back to your introduction. What were you saying?
Oh no, I'm just a squirrel. Yeah, I'm an IT squirrel. So working on the podcasting, trying to get that going amidst some other stuff. So I might not be around a little bit in the next several days because going to be some traveling, but working behind the scenes, and yeah, excited to see how this thing takes off. It'll be fun.
Okay, Jax, you troublemaker, you with the Animal House.
Sorry, I'm Jaxer Wild. I'm a troublemaker. That's all I do. Nice to meet you. Okay. And thank you, Brain. This has been a great show. This has been fun, and you're doing a great job.
Well, people, the Secret Squirrels are on the job. Hopefully, once Dr. Corsi comes back, then we'll, you know, we're talking about anyway, doing the thing where we can cover some news before his show, kind of being his opener or whatever. He's like the headline act, you know, that kind of thing, if you've ever gone to big music shows and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and turn over here to this page. We have Gateway Pundit article here today. Top GOP senators back the president. Clear path for Trump to fire Attorney General Sessions after the 2018 midterm elections. I mean, that's after the midterm elections? Maybe, I mean, why not before?
That's a good question, because I think he's worn out his welcome. He obviously is not doing his job. I mean, he should have cleaned out the DOJ by now. We shouldn't be going through all of this stuff that he's got up there. You know?
My thought is that if he's going to, if Sessions is going to come through, it's got to be between now and the elections. If he doesn't come through, then he's gone. So, I mean, after the elections makes sense from that standpoint.
I think they're also timing it so that it doesn't create another media firestorm, something for the left to then rally around, because anything that Trump points at, they are going to go the opposite direction. Thing that would be in his favor, they're going to find it in his disfavor. Yeah. I think it's just another, we got enough cooking between now with what is there. There's always an October surprise of some kind. And if you lay this on top of October surprise, it just may be too much for voters to handle going into the booth. So waiting until after the election, even though it's a couple months away, just makes sense.
There's that meme out there that says, you know, if Donald Trump cured cancer, then the left would be upset at him for it, because who knows? They'd find a reason, right? We got my man here, Grassley, Senator Chuck Grassley. That's my state, Iowa. So he's been a hard-working guy in this MAGA movement. He's been doing a lot of good stuff. What we got, it says Senator Chuck Grassley and Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican South Carolina, both backed President Trump on Thursday and said he deserves an attorney general that he has faith in. And so top key senators said that they will both back President Trump if he fires Attorney General Sessions after 2008 midterm elections.
Another good reason that I just popped into my head, see if this makes sense to anybody else, to broadcast it this way is to give Sessions an opportunity to do the right thing. He's now got 2 months to do what he should have done from day one. So now do it. And if he doesn't, then as soon as the midterms are over, you had 2-3 months to come clean when I told you you're going to be gone if you didn't. So sorry. Yeah,
carrot and the stick, man. One way or the other, you're going to learn your lesson.
Yeah, it's put up or shut up time for Sessions. It really is.
So let's see Senator Graham's quote here. What does it say? The president's entitled to an attorney general that he has faith in, somebody that's qualified for the job. And I think there will come a time, sooner rather than later, when it will be time to have a new face and a fresh voice at the Department of Justice. Clearly, Attorney General Sessions doesn't have the confidence of the president.
Never remember the relationship, never forget the relationship that Eric Holder had with President Obama. Eric Holder identified himself as President Obama's wingman. So we've got Jeff Sessions with 2 broken wings. So how can everybody go after Trump if he tries to get somebody in that will actually do things to move the Department of Justice in the way he wants to go, after going through 8 years of having attorney generals, not just Eric Holder, but also then what's her name? Just fell out of my head. That he was going to put on the Supreme Court.
Lynch.
If Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder both did everything they could, bending over backwards politically to serve Obama, doesn't Trump at least deserve a smidgen of that kind of loyalty?
Somebody that does their job, maybe?
That'd be helpful.
Well, I still hold out a little hope that this is all just political theater between President and Sessions, because, there is that chance, and there's a lot of people out there that I think feel this way too, is that this is just kind of a game they're playing to keep the left off balance. That maybe they're only just faking this little in-house war there between them. Maybe it's all just an act so that it'll be a surprise when Sessions actually comes out and does his job, not only does his job, but does it superlatively. I would really like to have that happen.
Yeah, I'm not ruling that out either. That's why I was saying that this is the time for him to move between now and the elections. If he doesn't do it, then that theory is toast.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just don't have faith in him. I don't think he will. I think he's been a plant. He's just an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm surprised that the president didn't fire him sooner, because I would have. Sorry.
No, well,
he's driving me up a wall. Well, I'm waiting for indictments. Where's my indictments?
Yeah, I understand. Everybody's frustrated. Things are taking forever. We've all been. Hillary's still walking around. Who knows who's still got their security clearances? We want something to happen.
Any one of us would be in jail and never see the light of day by now. If it had been anybody else, and that's what's frustrating.
So according to the article,
it's just the preferential treatment that these. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going with the article here. So they got President Trump's quote here. According to this is Gateway Pundit saying it. I don't have independent verification of this, but according to them, I put in an attorney general who never took control of the Justice Department. And it's sort of an incredible thing. We have this country going so well. I wanted to stay uninvolved. Jeff Sessions recused himself and should have told me. What kind of man is this? He knows there was no collusion. Maybe it's an excuse so that the president can put that sort of messaging out there. I don't know. But obviously, everybody that's on the MAGA, Team MAGA, we want things to start taking shape. We want the deep state to be exposed and gotten rid of, lickety split. And of course, the reason for the delay, some of the reason for these delays, is that you have to take the foot soldiers out first, and then their controllers, and then their controllers, and you're gradually working your way up this pyramid, and you got to take out the nobodies first, and gradually work your way up. And so we got like, and only just a couple months ago we started talking more heavily about Rosenstein and Mueller and so those of us who are kind of in the game, watching this on a daily level, for us it seems like it's taken forever. Maybe on the grand scheme of things, it's happening fairly quickly. I mean, all this stuff that's taking place think of how much President Trump has done in his first term. And to me, he's accomplished a great deal.
Ken S. in chat
he has
said that Sessions is on a DC vacation. I think that what he's referring to is that Sessions is on break with everybody else in DC and possibly would not be doing anything between now and when the break is over.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that knows
Congress takes August off, but the Department of Justice does not.
Oh, okay. You must mean something else. You must just mean that Sessions is taking a vacation.
He's
without
not working.
Being on vacation.
He's not working. He took a vacation the day he was put in office. And that's what's disgusting.
Well, we certainly understand what Jax feels about this whole
vacation.
thing.
You got to remember that he got rid of the Paris Climate Accords and that horrible deal there. He was instrumental in doing that.
Well, Trump did that, not Sessions.
Sessions was also very hot on the trail of MS-13. He went down and he visited the home country, went down to Central America, toured jails down there, saw the MS-13 members. And this was right when he started at the Department of Justice. And it appeared that he was going to really take a tough stand and do something good when it came to that. But other than a few things like the Climate Accord and MS-13, other than that, when it comes to the biggest things that he should be paying attention to, he's not doing so.
He's not. He focused on getting rid of the marijuana laws, and it's like, really, I get it, but you know what? There's other things we've got to take care of first. I just think the man's priorities are completely screwed up. And I don't think he's the person that should be in that job.
The thing that doesn't make sense to me, though, is
Giuliani.
Yeah, why would Trump keep him if it seems artificial to me. If he's as bad as he looks, he should have been gotten rid of a long time ago, and there's really no explanation for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that because
but he may not have a choice. He may not have a choice at this point in time.
Oh, because of midterms?
Yeah.
No, but why not earlier? I mean, some people said he could have got.
I don't think he's got really strategically. I don't think he's really got much of a choice. Not at this. It's just kind of. I think he's stuck with a bad guy, and it's just kind of like you've got that idiot that you can't fire because he's claiming that he's disabled some way that nobody can figure out.
Remember, Dr. Corsi saying he should replace him during the recess appointments. Golden opportunity. No action.
He should have done it then, but he may not have because there may have been something going on. But I think he should have gotten rid of him.
Well, what actually has to transpire in a legal point of view? Does anybody know? I'm actually, I don't know what has to happen legally for.
Well, one of the key things is going to be the replacement, and so there was the number 3 person in the Justice Department when all this started to unfold when Trump took office was a white hat. I can't remember the person's name. I think it was a she, and she was strong, and she was then forced out just before Trump took over, opening up the way for Rod Rosenstein to become the number 2, and for them when Sessions recused himself, for then Rosenstein to be the key player in the Department of Justice.
Right.
There was a movement to then put people into the Justice Department that were going to be white hats again, and that started. And there was that Flynn.
I do remember that story you're talking about. It's still vague Cohen, to me in my mind.
What's his name? he went over there. He's the next Intel guy, and he was supposed to be a rising star. And the thought was that he was going to go into that number 3 slot. And so if they then get rid of Sessions, instead of having Rosenstein become the acting attorney general, that they could put that Cohen-Whatley, that's his name, Cohen-Whatley in, or somebody else in the interim before a new appointment. But who knows how it's all unfolding now? It's just too mysterious.
There was somebody there that's in office right now that's in a temporary position, and I think it's a female, but if I remember right, the way the story was, it's like second week of September or somewhere like that, that they have a year to replace that person or something into this temporary position. I can't think of who that was.
There are a couple people that are in positions that will expire soon, and the timing of that, who knows, may be connected to how this is all going to roll out.
So complicated.
Canis also mentioned in text chat, maybe Trump's afraid of obstruction of justice charges.
See, so many complications. This game, I tell you.
One of the people that's in the chain of command that could move up is a Jesse Panuccio. He's out of Florida and was general counsel for Governor Rick Scott. And so he's in one of those key positions. And who knows if they're, with all the maneuvering that's going on, it's to get people like Jesse in the right place before the actual hammer drops.
You wouldn't happen to have any links that you could share with us on that point, do you, on that kind of development?
Let me see what I can flesh out.
So, okay, in the meantime, let's take a quick peek over here to this InfoWars thing. I think it was InfoWars. No, Alex Jones. Yeah, Alex Jones radio show. Watch. Vice President Pence announces U.S. moon base and manned Mars mission. America to explore the farthest depths of outer space. Sounds exciting. The Space Force for the win.
I hope they're not thinking of Mars and the moon being the farthest depths of outer space, but it's a good start.
Well, you just got to establish our bases. You got to build our bases.
You have to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I still want to, learn about ET, and I want to meet a Wookiee. So just telling me, I want to meet a Wookiee, and so full transparency, the whole thing about the UFOs and stuff like that.
A puppy with a Wookiee collar is not enough.
Okay, everybody.
Sorry,
this is an inside joke. She just got a new puppy, and she bought some kind of fancy-dancy collar for this dog, and it's like all the Star Wars fanboy sort of paraphernalia. So the inside scoop.
Well, it was either that or the Wookiee outfit.
Oh, okay.
And I was forced into the collar only.
Yeah.
So I knew it. But yeah, I would like.
This is a Jack Russell Terrier, right? Can you imagine? It's a baby. It's a little puppy dog. I mean, not even a full dog, and she wants to put it in a Wookiee suit. Can you imagine this? Anyway, NASA. This is the looks like it's a NASA tweet here. The next Americans who set foot on the moon will start their journey by stepping through NASA Orion hatch. And this extraordinary spacecraft will one day bridge the gap between our planet and the next.
Well, I think it's nice. It's such a breath of fresh air compared to the last administration we had, where they shut everything down.
Gave all the money to private companies, buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is nice because I think that's always been part of the American spirit, is the quest for exploration and looking
onwards
beyond our
horizons.
Yeah.
We have to develop it. Let us reclaim the word progress from the leftists who say, whatever they're doing, they're not actually progressives because there's no forward progress that is moving anywhere. They're trying to hold us back, if anything, or move us backwards. I know some people call them regressives rather than progressives. They're trying to devolve our society.
I'd have to agree with that term. I don't see that they are progressing in any way, shape, or form. I really applaud the Trump administration for taking this and just really going forward with it, full blast. I think it's great.
So it is now the official policy of the United States of America that we will return to the moon, put Americans on Mars, and once again explore the farthest depths of outer space. Sounds pretty fancy. Still want to meet a Wookiee. Okay.
I'm for it.
Craig posted in our chat, our local chat here, from the New York Daily Mag. Craig, you want to talk about that
Just
a little bit?
Let me pull it up.
Yeah, and this may also shed some light on the timing for asking Sessions to step down. I hadn't thought of this angle, and that is whoever takes over the Department of Justice is going to be Mueller's boss.
Oh.
So think about the issues that would be involved with putting in somebody ahead of Mueller. It may be that the timing is to get Mueller's funding runs out next month. It runs out during the month of September. He's going to run out of money again unless he's given additional funds through Congress or whoever devotes those funds. I don't know if the DOJ head does that or if it's a congressional act that gives the special counsel his funding. But the chances are higher rather than lower that that Mueller's going to be out of business soon. And maybe the timing then is wait for Mueller to run out of gas and be gone, and then the midterms to take place, and then replace Sessions.
Wouldn't that be nice? Can you imagine the day when we stop hearing about this Trump-Russia collusion business? It's been going on for a freaking year and a half or 2 years or something. It's ridiculous. Oh, man.
With no evidence, no nothing. And I'm tired of hearing about it myself.
Let's get to the story about Hillary's email. That's what I want to hear about. Benghazi.
I do too. Well, I want to hear about all of the dirty deeds. Haiti and all those other dirt.
Done dirt cheap.
Yeah. There's an open position at the Justice Department that's high profile, has a lot of potential for advancement, and could even offer an opportunity to change the course of U.S. history. The Trump administration can't seem to fill it, probably because the president has made it clear there's a good risk of becoming the next target of his ire. As President Trump continues to denigrate Attorney General Jeff Sessions on Twitter, and his allies in Congress lay the groundwork for him to fire Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, the number 3 position at the Justice Department has been vacant since Rachel Brand stepped down in February. The official reason given for her departure was that she could not pass up the top legal position at Walmart. But NBC News reported that she told friends that she felt overwhelmed and unsupported in the job and feared she would be asked to oversee the Russia investigation. The Wall Street Journal reported that the Trump administration has put filling the Associate Attorney General position on the back burner after several candidates expressed similar concerns. Since Sessions has recused himself, if Rosenstein were to do the same oversight of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's probe would fall to the Associate Attorney General. In a Saturday Night Massacre situation, the number 3 official could easily wind up as acting Attorney General. So, who is the Assistant Attorney General right now?
The number 3 position
number
is
2.
Jesse Panuccio.
Who's number 2?
Rod Rosenstein, right?
I thought that's what I thought was.
Right,
I thought it was
Rosenstein.
Rosenstein.
Right, it's Sessions, even though he is invisible, and then Rosenstein's, and then Panuccio.
So, to me, right there, Rosenstein is the fly in the ointment in this time frame, this timeline, because if we could get rid of Rosenstein, that's the thing that we should be looking for.
It could be that taking out Mueller takes out Rosenstein.
Yeah,
see
that's the game right there.
Well, there was a story, and I saw it a while ago, and then I saw it again recently, and I can't remember the exact details, but apparently, according to this one version of events, early on in the Trump administration, some deep state guys put some papers in front's desk, and it had to do with a line of succession within the Department of Justice. And what they did was basically position it so that he'd have to fire like 3 or 4 people to get anybody that was on his team. So that's where we're supposedly at now, is that after Rosenstein, there's at least one more deep state guy, so he'd have to fire 3 or 4 deep: Sessions, Rosenstein, some other guy, and then maybe 1 or 2 more before he actually got somebody that would fire Mueller.
So most likely what we're looking at here is an end to Mueller's funding, well, that to just run out. And then also, once we can get rid of Mueller and have it, and so much of this is about public perception. It doesn't have anything to do with law. It's just what people are going to see, you know, and how the mainstream media is going to present it to everybody. Because you just know that they're going to spin everything in the worst light possible, and probably even further beyond that. But, you know, it's like we have to be clear that Mueller had his chance, you know, to bring something up against Trump. If there's something to be found, then he had his chance, you know.
Not even the appearance of obstruction of justice.
There has to be, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Trump is clean. Just absolutely.
Yeah.
And so once that's established, then we can get Mueller out, we can get Rosenstein out, bring in somebody good, and then maybe at that point we can look to see Jeff Sessions doing his job or be replaced. Either way.
I can't wait till...
I just posted that President Trump, in March of 2017, signed an executive order on providing an order of succession within the Department of Justice. So there is now a formal, apparently prior to that executive order, there was no formal succession plan within the Department of Justice.
So March 31st, 2017. Likely that at the level of the president, all this stuff is already planned out. It's already, all the details, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. This has all been planned out for so long, and it's all just for our benefit, us, you know, voting public, to make sure that we understand what's actually happening before any, you know, big moves are made.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's what's happening. I can't wait until Trump says, "Oh my gosh, I just found out that Robert Mueller was in charge of the FBI in 9/11, and look what he did there. Oh my gosh."
And look at all the different cases that he's tried and how he has given his buddies and members of the cabal special privileges, special treatment. So he's officially acting as a prosecutor for the federal government, and yet he's claiming favoritism for all of his criminal friends.
Right.
And when he returned from Russia, I think it was 2013, his coat, when it went through the metal detection device, set off the uranium alarms. He came back from Russia.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
So uranium one's in this too. You know, what?
That's right.
He was the mule. He was Hillary Clinton's mule for taking a sample of the enriched uranium over to Russia. So he had his own little tarmac episode in a foreign country that then enabled the Russians to decide they wanted to buy 20% of our uranium, while through CFIUS, in this process that we have in place to ensure that those kinds of transactions are done transparent and above board, which in this case was exactly the opposite. Hillary Clinton was a member of that CFIUS court that ruled in favor of the uranium one, and it was all based on the notion that that uranium was not going overseas, and it ends up probably in Russia's hands right now.
Have you read through this executive order?
I'm sorry?
Have you read through this executive order?
The one on succession?
Yeah.
Yes.
So can you give us a brief summary on this, on what this is specifically saying?
Naturally, I just closed that window. Hang on. So the way this thing works then is the number 2 would be the United States Attorney General from the Eastern District of Virginia.
Okay, so the first paragraph there is like, what happens if the Attorney General...
Right. So it's all about if he's unable to, if he's resigned, he's died, unable to perform his function, then they have a succession plan.
For whatever reason, yeah.
Correct. And the succession plan starts with the U.S. Attorney General for the Eastern District of Virginia. And I have no clue who that is.
Probably somebody we should figure out who that is.
And then after that, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of North Carolina.
So it's not even the Assistant Attorney General that would fill in the spot.
That's what this says. That's what this executive order. And the number 3 would be Northern District of Texas.
That's good information to have right there. That's useful. Let's drop that link into the chat room so that people have that available to them. I think it's this one.
Apparently, it did revoke a previous executive order on succession planning that Executive Order 13775, and I haven't taken a look at that. So I don't know in what respect the new one replaced the old one, but this is the one that's currently in effect.
Yeah, I'm wondering who initiated that other executive order.
Oh, who was the executive of the executive order?
Who's the who did that?
Does it matter?
Was it Obama?
I mean, all these recently past presidents anyway.
I'd be curious to see where. Well, I'd be curious to see where they had put it, but you know, you're right. It is just in the past now.
And they're all dirty. They're all all the recent ones.
Yeah, they are. Fortunately.
Okay, so what's next on our agenda? Let's look at some other stories. We got the Newsweek thing there. What's that about? Oh, that's the email. What is that about?
I posted in a broadcast that you can take a look at. A judge has ruled that the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, the whole Benghazi affair, was not done properly.
Well, that's that's last year, 2017.
Correct. But that is, his order is still in effect. That needs to be reviewed again. Okay. So has there something that's another shoe that's been dropped about that?
Huh. Yeah, the left wants us to forget about Benghazi. They want us to forget about her email servers, all that stuff. And then don't forget, you still got the Seth Rich thing going on here and the WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. Yep. There's lots of news that still needs to be broken.
And I don't know if you're familiar with a blogger. His name is Matt Couch, but he just came out with new information, and he hasn't revealed his sources, but he says they're deadlock solid. And that is that there were two interesting visitors to the hospital that morning at 4:43 a.m. when Seth Rich was admitted into the emergency room. One of them was the mayor of Washington, D.C., Democrat mayor of Washington, D.C., Bowers, something like that. Yeah, and the other one was Donna Brazil.
Yeah.
I saw that somewhere.
So I want to take a minute to address our listeners now or in the future to remind you that this whole thing about the Russia collusion thing, then Russian interference, and whatever they're changing the flavor of the day of their accusations against Trump, it's all been, basically the story is information got out. Some damaging information got out that WikiLeaks published, and they want to blame the Russians on it, but they don't really talk about what is the nature of the information that was so damaging. What information did get out? If it was the Russians, fine. What information did they get out? Yeah. Well, that information has to do with the point that the DNC is guilty of election fraud within their own party, and Hillary stole the nomination from Bernie, because we have here Seth Rich was a Bernie guy. Seth Rich was a Bernie guy, and he was so angry at the DNC for allowing Hillary to steal the nomination that he took this information and gave it to Julian Assange. And that's the reason. I mean, so instead of just worrying about, well, what, that the Russians did it. Well, what exactly did they do? Right? And why is it now, as soon as that kind of, once the nomination was declared in Hillary's favor, what happened to all those Bernie supporters out there? Why did they suddenly gang up against Trump? They took Hillary's side, even though even though Hillary's the one that stole that nomination. Why would they do that?
I'm not sure that all of them did, and that might be part of the walk away movement.
Yeah.
I would guess there were probably a lot, and the people that we hear about on the news are the ones that the news wants to promote their opinion. And there are a lot of people out there who probably have an opposing opinion that we are very unlikely to hear about from the mainstream media.
That's true. There's probably a great contingent of people on the left that, voted, but it was not necessarily the official DNC, but, in terms of the citizens that vote that way, they're probably not real happy. Maybe there's some out there that are paying at least attention to at least some of this information that's coming out. And, maybe there's those guys out there want to know about the Seth Rich murder, that it just happened to be the case that somebody in a position at the DNC was murdered at a, supposedly it was a robbery or mugging or something, even though he didn't, all of his materials was all of his wealthy, his watch and his money and everything was still on his body.
Watch. Yeah.
So a botched robbery, and he didn't die on the scene. So he went back to the hospital, and at the hospital,
right.
he didn't die right away there either. He probably had opportunity to speak to somebody if he was conscious at all during that time. Somebody, he might have said something during that time, and who was there to hear it? Was Donna Brazil there? Did she hear something from Seth Rich as he was dying?
For a moment, a few months ago, she began to really speak out about Seth Rich's murder, and I thought that she was going to really become a whistleblower, but that didn't really go anywhere, did it?
Well, she did write a book. I never read it, of course, but maybe there is still some part for her to play in this. There's a lot of stuff that has to come out, a lot of stuff, and if we just
there's a lot of strategy involved in this on both sides. I think what happens is the deep state players, and there's a good deep state too. There's these Patriot loyalists that are embedded in the system too, and they know the value of certain pieces of information, and so do the bad guys. And so they set up these traps, if you will, or the tempting bait, and they have to wait for the other side to get so desperate that they go for it. And I think some of this has been in a waiting mode, and we're just coming to the point where we're about to see a bunch of stuff triggered, and it's going to be pretty chaotic, in my opinion. That's just the landmines are ready to be triggered.
Yeah, the news cycle is going to break open at some point. At some point, the dam's going to burst, and it's going to be a lot to handle for the public. There's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of desperation, just because what's going on. And even those of us who have tried to stay informed about it, it's probably going to be a lot for us to digest as well. So I guess hang on, right? Watch
Ken
this.
S. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Ken S. in text chat said not all of the Bernie supporters. He said not all of them. I believe he means Bernie supporters. He said, I worked with burners, BERNERS,
okay,
for Trump in the early phase. It's in Brazil's book, he said. So he evidently read Brazil's book, which is probably a pretty interesting read. I remember she really made the rounds when it came out, and we heard her. I distinctly remember her saying she considered Seth Rich her son or something like that, almost a son to her, something very personal like that. So she may still be looking for an opportunity at some point down the road to bring some of this information out. Who knows? We'd like to think that there's a plan. There may be a plan. All these people may have coordinated when they're going to release information, or maybe they'll just let it roll.
I'm thinking that maybe we should at least talk briefly about what's going on with Owen Schroyer, Roger Stone, the personal YouTube accounts being banned. I'm going to pull this story up.
More censorship of
the
right.
Because
by the tech.
Yeah, because right now we on the one hand, you got the mainstream media that's pushing out a bunch of propaganda, and this is an effort in psychological warfare. They are trying to control people's minds and control their actions by way of what they're allowed to think. And a lot of useful idiots out there that just, eat it up. But on the other hand, besides for the propaganda, we also have the censorship. So while they are engaging in propaganda techniques in the legacy media formats, they're taking out conservative voices or any alternative voices, really, that anything that would question the story as the deep state wants us to believe it. So anybody challenging their point of view is being censored. And you get the story of Owen Schroyer and Roger Stone, who are having their personal YouTube accounts banned. That's dangerous stuff.
Well, especially because they don't really have that much content. Well, Owen Schroyer might, but Roger Stone has been pretty quiet the last few months.
Well, at least on their personal pages,
right.
And that just might be their own desperation that they have to do whatever they can against the good guys, because I imagine, did Alex Jones ever get his YouTube reestablished?
No.
Nope.
In fact, how I don't know if you guys are listening to Alex much, but we've listened to him for years. And one of the things I've noticed is that typically he's okay. I think to say that he's got poor impulse control might be putting it mildly, but in the first 10 minutes of the show, he'll often drop the biggest bombs. So I try to listen carefully to that time area. And today was a doozy. He actually said something, and I'm going to paraphrase. I just checked to see if there's any InfoWars story about this, and there isn't that I can find yet. But he basically said that he's got that InfoWars team and lawyers, and he talked about it as being not only it's not just him, it's their legal associates as well as other staff have a direct line into top military brass in order, and especially as regards to censorship issues. So it sounds like Trump is getting ready to move on any further censorship of the conservatives and libertarians because of the midterms that are coming up. And Alex just basically said, yeah, I can get right through to the top generals whenever we need to. It was kind of amazing.
Yeah, that's good. Because Trump did have. I do remember that tweet that he had with, we will not let this stand, and I wouldn't be surprised. There's already some kind of mechanism in place.
In the works.
Something that prevents too much damage from happening in the censorship wise, but.
Yeah. And some very connected people like Ali Alexander were being very ominous, but also very tight-lipped within the last couple of days. And I typed a question into his Periscope that he basically ignored by way of saying, all I can say is that, they're basically saying that the Trump administration is prepared or something along those lines. Because I was asking him, what's Trump gonna do about this censorship? So they've got a plan and they're ready to act, and I think it's very close.
And I think it all goes back to positioning so that the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, and Trump has put good people in charge of both of those. Director Pai at the FCC, putting them in place so that they can take action, and they are behind the scenes right now. Jefferson, I can't remember the name of the guy that's at FTC, but they are getting the building blocks in place to be able then to take action in order to either correct the behavior of these behemoths in the social media world, or to put through an Internet Bill of Rights or other actions in order to ensure that they either conform or they are broken up and realigned as utilities or something else takes place.
Well, as it stands right now, is there any possibility that we could do a class action lawsuit against them in terms of like election fraud? Is there any sort of mingling of I mean, does class action lawsuits, is that even possible in the sense of like election fraud or censoring conservative votes?
Sure. You can file lawsuits. The left are experts in lawfare and have taken inappropriate action against a variety of people with whom they disagree for all the actions that Alex Jones has had to defend himself against and others. But the right just doesn't have that natural tendency to be vicious and take
Or
their
dishonest.
money and throw it at people in order to take them down.
Yeah.
Those are tactics of the left, but in order to survive, the right may have to adopt those tactics.
We can resist that as much as we can. Here we go. Gab. We do try to promote Gab. I mean, these guys on Gab, it's still a fairly small platform, but they do have a strong stance towards free speech, and there's and to some degree there's some undesirable sort of people on there, but you're going to get that because they do stand for free speech, and you're not going to always like to hear what you see on there. It's like, but we have to. I mean, free speech, you got to have that as a policy, on a platform like this. And this Gab
and besides taking formal action through government agencies, there is a movement afoot for alternatives to be created to fight Facebook and the others. One of them is Minds.com. The CEO of Minds was on talking to somebody the other day and talking about how full believer in free speech, getting his Minds.com initiative going more strongly now. And it's going to be a blend of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube and wrap it all together. And so he's ready to accept, as conservatives continue to get kicked off of platforms like Facebook and YouTube, they have other places to land, even though it's going to take a while for those alternatives to build up to anywhere near the popularity that the left-wing sites have had.
Yeah, so this alternative tech. So basically, Corsi Nation represents alternative media. That's the content side of things. Whereas the alternative tech are the platforms that would support alternative media. So alt tech, alt media, very much we are in sympathetic cooperation with each other. We want to support those platforms that do allow for free speech. And we want to, so Gab is also in the same way that you were talking about with Minds, it's not strictly trying to emulate any one platform, but the Gab does tend more towards Twitter, and Minds does tend more towards Facebook. So just a reference for you in terms of which kind of platform you like more now. That's kind of give you a clue about which you would. I mean, but both of them are going to be better than the previous. The only drawback of either one of them is that you just don't have the reach that you do on Twitter or Facebook.
Well, and that'll change over time.
Yeah, sure. And get your accounts, sign up for these accounts and support them. I have a pro account on Gab simply because I want to help them. It's like $5 a month or something like that. I want to support them in their what they're doing, because I mean, there's glitchy things. There's they're a small company, and if I can give them $5 a month and help them towards developing better quality product, because that's in our own interest to do that, and that's how the free market should work.
Yeah, one thing we want to always keep in mind is that no matter how powerful these people are and how much money they have, they can't do anything really of substance in the long term without having the backing of the people. And of course, they try to trick us into backing them so that they, we're endorsing something that we think is good, but it's really nefarious. But the people really have the power. We just have to, and we are waking up and realizing how we've been hoodwinked. But we're unstoppable. This awakening that's happening now is just the beginning of an amazing new age for humanity, I believe.
Yeah, and so it's kind of a complicated strategy, even from the audience point of view, that you have all these different platforms out there. Trump doesn't want to give up Twitter. I mean, he's kind of it's like that's the platform that he won the election on, And so I think he wants to preserve that as best he can. And I think when you talk about Alex Jones didn't get banned from Twitter right away, it's because I think Trump's playing that is a particularly important platform from the president's point of view. But also, you know, but don't, you know, why not have a backup plan in case, you know, you're getting shadow banned or something like that? Get on Gab, get a Minds account, whatever it takes. Circle the wagons, you know, for the conservatives out there that are feeling the danger, or even the threat of they're having their voices silenced. You know, take some action, and it's as simple as signing up for an account. You know, because that helps their advertisers see the value in the platform. You know, the investors and stuff. They want to. Then they'll have easier time generating money if there's more users. So just sign up for an account. It doesn't cost you nothing. Yeah,
and it helps keep, well, not that Twitter is honest, but it helps put pressure on them to help make them more honest if they've got a serious competition.
I think that some of the issue with Twitter now, I became really aware of it after the rally the other night. I haven't spent that much time on Twitter lately, and I sometimes used to troll trends and, you know, try to post things according to trends. The other night, I looked up West Virginia rally and turkey because I found that comment about cooking the turkey really interesting, and I thought there was some esoteric meaning there probably. So I was looking that up on Twitter, and I would say probably maybe 9 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 9 comments about the rally using that search term were negative. And even just, you know, a few months ago, I would have seen probably a lot of conservative posts about that. There were almost no conservative posts. Almost all of the posts were critical of the president, saying that. And it just made me realize, I think there are things going on Twitter that aren't as obvious even as shadow banning, even though shadow banning is not obvious. But I think there's a subtle move there to silence conservative voices, to the extent that when you do a search on Twitter, you're much more likely to find comments from the left than
they're constantly, every time that we block one of their strategies, they get another tactic up, you know. So, but I think that's enough for the story. We're running out of time. We want to keep it under an hour, and I do want to have one feel-good story for everybody. You know, we're going to end this up with a fun statement here. Iowa State's fairground. The strangest food that this year could be the cookie dough spaghetti. So, okay.
I just looked. Yeah.
Well, you know,
wait. This is supposed to make it feel good.
They have a giant
cookie dough
every year.
Don't argue with the
Listen,
cookie dough.
I am a citizen of the state of Iowa, and a resident of the state of Iowa, and every year they have a giant cow made of butter. You got to understand Iowa sensibility. I mean, maybe it's their own.
I could dig. I get down on that.
It's just part of being in Iowa. It's an Iowa thing, you know. Cookie dough spaghetti noodles.
I do have a friend who at a fair once ate deep fried ho-ho, and she said it was amazing. She said you would not believe how good it was, but I myself have never gone there.
So these new cuisines that they have, you know, this Iowa State Fair is actually a pretty fun thing. The numbers have dwindled over the years, and that's unfortunate. I mean, I really like going to fairgrounds and seeing the animals. That's my thing. I really like animals, and I like seeing when and when you get more fairgoers, then that revenue goes to support, you know, those kinds of activities. And it's kind of sad to see the revenues falling a little bit, but you know, they got truck pulls and all that stuff and all these fairs, you know, the county fairs and stuff that people have. And I love that sort of rural thing. You know, we're the flyover states as far as like New York and LA. You know, they don't care about us. They don't care about the kinds of things that's part of the fabric of our lives. And when you go to these you know, flyover state fairs, then you get an opportunity to see some history, some tradition, you know. Anyway.
Well, I see here that they got cookie dough spaghetti, but where's the mochi ice cream? You know, you've got everything else. Where's the mochi ice cream? Mochi ice cream is where it's at. Trust me on this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
but the cheese and corn dogs.
We don't grow rice here.
I guess
I'm
not in
sorry to
Iowa.
tell you that we don't have rice patties. We've got pigs and cows and corn. You know, that's pretty much the kind of stuff soybeans. That's our thing. So, corn dogs is pretty much definitive. So,
corn dogs I can understand.
Yeah.
The two primary food groups.
And tractor pulls. So I'm going to go ahead and let this drop off, and we're going to go back to our title screen. Isn't it fancy? Aren't we getting fancy? Look at this. It's beautiful. So anyway, Dr. Corsi's going to be back tomorrow. He had a good time, and he even threatened not coming back. He's like, I'm just going to stay here for a couple of years. You know. Obviously, we would all have a real problem with that, but that was his threat. So, this is Brainstorm signing off from the Secret Squirrels. Everybody say bye.
Bye. What about the music?
Music's playing. You're just not hearing it. You're not watching it on YouTube. See, it doesn't play through Discord. What's happening, man? Bye. Bye. Come on, wave. I want to see the wave. Come on.
Bye.
Bye.
Wave what?
I'm waving. Wave your spaghetti cookie dough.